Over the last 50 years, public housing has evolved considerably in Singapore, from rudimentary flats to distinctive apartment blocks. And it looks set to evolve further as architects need to deal with the issues of an increasing population. One efficient solution is for flats to be built higher, especially in the central business district. However, that brings into question practical issues of privacy and livability, not to mention the challenges of building and maintaining such massive structures. Khoo Peng Beng and Belinda Huang address all these issues in their design of the now iconic pinnacle at Duxton.
We tried to look around for maybe some case studies of projects similar to ours, and I think there were quite a few projects, but they were never at 50 stories and they were never compact and high density nature. And Singapore at that time was already at the forefront of public housing, so looking everywhere else was difficult.
But the project had initially faced the danger of becoming a massive urban wall within the city and cutting off the civic and residential area from the business district. Peng Beng and Belinda's solution was to break them up into a series of 7 blocks and creating urban windows between the blocks.
Buildings of such a scale should paradoxically feel lighter and smaller, and so we were looking at ways and means to reduce the perceived density and perceived mass, and finally we arrived at this scheme where the buildings form a Japanese screen.
The folding weave layout also provided most of the units with good unobstructed views of the port and historic civic areas like Chinatown, as well as the business district a stone's throw away. Such a layout enabled them to negotiate the tight space constraints of the site. But to house the 50-story 7 blocks on an 8.4 hectare site, they had to weave something out of the air.
We thought that people love to climb mountains, to watch sunsets or sunrise. So we thought that if we created a metaphorical sort of top of the mountain feel, then people could just go out there and enjoy the sort of high-level views of the city.
That inspiration became the basis for the sky parks for which Pinnacle at Duxton is known. Suspended mid-space at levels 27 and 50, the sky parks link the 7 blocks together while at the same time creating additional ground space, giving residents more social and recreational choices. But the 12 sky bridges which together created the Sky Gardens were a nightmare to install. The heaviest sat at 350 tons, the equivalent of a 747 jumbo aircraft. It could not be assembled in parts, but had to be lifted in a single operation.
There were altogether like 50 over people, all on site looking at the bridge as it hoisted up to be lifted into position. And then somewhere halfway through it, there was a storm. So that was very, very scary because the bridge is hanging in the air somewhere, 350 ton, all of it. And you had to wait for the storm to go away.
The sky decks provided more than mere connection. They were cleverly made to become a destination, transporting the users to other spaces that were created to resemble the beach, the hilltop, or ship's deck. How the spaces are to be used was deliberately left open to the residents' interpretation. But in the highly compact living environment on a site that was also situated right next to major traffic, it was hard to draw the line between private and public, city and home. To do this, Peng Beng and Belinda had to pull up the existing ground to create a new one.
What we've done is that if you think of the ground almost like a land peel, and if you pull up the ground, what you do is you create a higher level where just by the fact that you pull it up, and by its height and its distance away from the road, it creates a level of privacy, and yet we will stitch it back by either stairs or by ramps. We will stitch it back seamlessly back into the urban scape.
An elegant solution for public housing that proved good design can be enjoyed by all, not just the few with the means to pay. But is it anything more than a statement piece?
Always the big concern is the quality of living in a high-rise density. People will be worried that it's going to be dark, is it going to be dirty, am I going to lose my gardens? And what Pinnacles at Duxton actually show them is that no, you don't. You have, in fact, an increased area with the sky bridges of facilities and communal spaces, and you still have your park spaces and green spaces as well.
Pinnacle at Duxton is an emblem of intelligently designed high-rise public housing in land-scarce Singapore. With tighter sites becoming an increasingly pressing issue, architects will need to continue thinking outside of the box to create homes that are both practical and livable.